So we are now going into the cost assessment piece, right? The reason why you joined this webinar. So Michael is going to talk more about the cost assessment, how it can help you. So I'll turn it over to Michael.
Thanks, Nilesh. So the cost assessment essentially is a view of the environment. So I'm just going to touch on a few of the points that that Nilesh sort of made first, and I'll jump into more detail on the cost assessment. But the key that I really wanted to articulate today, that managing costs in the public cloud is very much an ongoing episode. As Nilesh pointed out, that quite often with customers, and it's well represented by the likes of Gartner and other industry bodies, that the public cloud customers are wasting somewhere between 30 and 40% of their spend. And that what we like to articulate to customers and remind customers is that 30 to 40% of wastage is not happening at once. It's happening on a gradual basis. It's happening on a continual basis. So there is a continual need to understand and continually manage those costs. And the more you can automate that process and build awareness of those of that cost wastage and visibility into that wastage, the easier this process will become on an ongoing basis. What we've done with the cost assessment is we've built an assessment process. It's quite an automated process which allows you to to get a strong snapshot of what your current cloud environment looks like, what you're spending it on, how much you potentially can save, whether that's through idle or wastage or stronger cloud commitments. And then we also give you the opportunity to look at that across a couple of different views of your organization. So if you've got multiple business units, we also allow you to break that down by business units. Just a little bit about the actual process of the environment. So firstly, we focus on AWS and Azure. It's quite a simple process. We require a couple of inputs from yourself. It's a very quick process to turn around. It's usually somewhere between 3 to 5 working days. What we do is we give you the ability to, I sort of touched on this a second ago, but we give you the ability to actually look into 3 separate business units. So we look at the whole environment, but then we also do a sub view of each or 3 different business units. A couple of the questions that we commonly get asked is around what we require access to. So the best way we generally describe that is we require least privilege, read-only access into the public cloud provider. We look at basically a combination of the configuration metadata, the usage statistics, and also the billing data. And basically, what we supply to you as part of that is a strong executive summary with both spend and savings opportunities, which I'll show you a little bit of a snapshot of as we go through the next couple of slides. So probably one of the important things that we show is we sort of give you a very high level view as to what that current spend is, what those unused or potentially optimizable services look like, what that total estimated savings is, and that potential savings, and also a cost efficiency statistic. We heavily work with these types of metrics throughout the platform. We feel it's very important to track these type of metrics. You can track these by teams, business units, whatever the case may be. And what they allow you to do is they allow you to continually improve those efficiency statistics. A little bit of background on some of those types of breakdowns. So unused recommendations, and that number here from an unused point of view, that comes from where we've identified things that are completely idle. So they're not being utilized in the environment. It may be something that it was a backup that was taken 2 years ago. It may be a service that's completely isolated and therefore has no usage, or it may be that we're looking at the usage statistics of those devices or those services, and that there's no connections, there's no requests, or there's no usage on those services. the optimization services, this will be where you've got a service and you still need to use that service, but the configuration of that service may need to be may be able to be dropped. And what that would allow is for a reduction in cost. We commonly see these types of things where you've got volumes or databases or other services where you've got things like IOPS, and you've requested a large amount for a service, and we're able to reduce those. We commonly find a significant saving in this space, and it's generally due to services being or increased over the journey of an application. Maybe it's for an incident, maybe it's for an issue, and that issue gets fixed, but these configurations get left around. We also cover off things like right sizing, so instance right sizing. Going from, as Nilesh put, a large or extra large t-shirt size down to a large or a small type instance. So some of the information that we'll provide is we'll break it down into the current types of services. What that will do is that will show where growth is, and we'll highlight these types of these growth in the executive summary. For example, we'll show that that from certain months, certain times that you've had significant growth in different services. I would highlight here that the between month 8 and month 9, that the simple storage service has almost doubled in doubled in usage, and that may be something that is able to be investigated further and understood as to why that issue has been done. And sometimes you can find that you've enabled something specifically, and that's doubled the amount of storage that you've been storing from that point. So it's really important to understand the metrics behind all of these types of services. We'll break down each opportunity. So we'll break down all of the opportunities to save as part of the assessment. We sort of touched on it before. We'll look at everything from unused snapshots to detached volumes to idle services, whether that be EC2, RDS, Redshift, Azure virtual machines, Azure databases, anything along those lines. And then we'll also look into some of those optimization opportunities, whether that be IOPS, right sizing, and we'll provide a metric for each of these opportunities. We then break it up into different business units. We talked about, as part of that assessment, that we provide a number of different views on those business units. You can see here, we'll also provide an optimization rating for each of those business units. We'll provide that for the complete environment as well. And what that optimization rating is it's a metric that we provide, which is based on your spend versus your opportunity to save. We'll give you a rating score. And as we sort of touched on before, and I'll show you in the demo as we walk through the platform, this is something that we provide on an ongoing basis through the platform. We find customers find it very handy to challenge teams to become more optimized, and also to create competitions in organizations as to who's the most optimized application or team or division, to try and drive some competitive behavior in saving money. From a business unit view, we break this down into a number of a number of different views. You'll see here that we'll give you an understanding of all the spend of all of those different business units, what the current month is, and what the growth has been in those business units. We filter down into a number of different views, by environments, by services, and by things like instance sizes. As we move through the assessment, we'll also provide a highlight into the current reservations in the environments. For those of you that don't know, reservations in cloud environments, whether they're reserved instances or savings plans, what they allow you to do is they allow you to commit to capacity, whether that be compute time or database time, or whatever the service may be. They allow you to commit to that for a 12 or 3 year period, and provide a fairly significant discount. Some of those range anywhere from 40 to high 60% in those discount things. The flip side of those, though, is if you reserve too much, or reserve something that you don't utilize, you'll still be charged for it. So there's a couple of key metrics that we look at in this space, and that's what your current reserved instances or your current savings plan look like, what the net saving has been in the last 12 months, and also look at what the coverage of the existing, the coverage of the existing coverages. So how much of your compute or reservable capacity is being covered as part of the environment, and look at what the current utilization is on those services. So there's probably there's a couple of key metrics there. So the coverage may be what's your total coverage of your existing compute environment, and we generally find customers will strive for anywhere, depending on the type of environment, can be anywhere between 50 and 80%. Generally in enterprise workloads, it's a little higher, but sometimes in seasonal type workloads, it can be a little bit different. The current utilization, so this is really important. So utilization of your RIs, specifically to RIs or savings plans. If you've gone and requested capacity, and you're only using you're not using it all, then you'll be paying for that. And there's obviously we don't want to be paying for something that we're not using. And then the savings opportunity of acting on those underutilized RIs, and also looking at going down to and covering more as part of those, will provide an insight into what that saving opportunity can be.